right, Stray Kids with another video drop in here for Megaverse. I saw the little bit on the JYP channel that some Stray Kids are going to be guest judges for the finale of the Nizzy Project Season 2, which because I've been expecting Stray Kids to show up like the whole time. You know, I thought they'd be there about halfway through, but it's cool either way. It's like finally they're gonna show up. It's gonna be Pang Chan, Changbin, and Han are going to be the judges, and that's pretty cool. I think it's gonna be fun to see the boys on the show react to it, because they're gonna be pretty hyped up for that, and it's a good group. You know, I mean, like this group will, you know, basically sort of probably end up being seen as like the group that follows Stray Kids, you know, like the next generation boy group after them. So it'll be fun to watch, man. I think it's gonna make the finale exciting, you know. But this is the Megaverse video, so let's check it. I don't know anything about this. It just sort of dropped, and I haven't checked it out yet. So.
Jumping between every verse, the multiverse, and ready for our universe. First, second, third, fourth wall, we're breaking them all, unbeatable score. Our composition brings a competition, but we've already won in this Megaverse. Welcome to the Stray Kids Hot Megaverse. Stray Kids! Welcome to the Stray Kids Hot Megaverse. 잡았다 큰 거 하나 온다 떠봐 떨어라 Atlas 닥치는 대로 치워 삼켜 소화해 모든 서버 Megaverse. 결말을 뻔하게 만들어 결국 끝이 보지 Megatron. 영향력은 증폭돼 속삭였다 메가폰. 같이 모여 퍼뜨려 Holy Ghost. 몰아치게 나도 out of the way. 헛소리는 입에 젖은 철컥. We make the rules, nobody can make it. 아니 너무 뺏겨 들어보고 새겨 비켜 빙 둘러봤자 방금 백관 착다 잡혀 my world power 올라가 하이텍 over the random 에이 올라가지 저 밑에 서버 모두 시대가 왔지 에이 now 여기 위에서 말한 대로 내 위치는 다 speechless wordless 이 빨리 새는 뜻도 없어 you know we're getting fearless reckless 나게 울려 퍼지는 우리 음악 소리 생각하는 대로 행동 우리 feel 듣고 따라 우리 만들어 현실로 Every time we move the universe will follow Welcome to the Stray Kids Hot Megaverse Stray Kids Welcome to the Stray Kids Hot Megaverse 굉장한 내 목소리 you better run 이 정도의 스케일 측정 단위 메가턴 웬만해선 절대 누구에게 안 굴려 Stray Kids This a Megaverse big bang The body's right Cause we make it rain yeah yeah This a Megaverse big bang Everything right Welcome to the Stray Kids Hot Megaverse
Oh man, that was very cool. I've noticed, like, especially lately, right? There were some groups that got in on a concept like this earlier. I would like I would probably say like Dreamcatcher, aespa, uh, Red Velvet, like this concept of a sort of parallel universe, or these other sort of realities that are out there, right? And I've noticed that this is a trend now, that has started to work its way across all, especially fourth gen groups, right? Um, but even some of the third gen groups are being, working on things that are basically in that same direction as far as this conceptual trend. This is like a very broad concept thing, that like, because even NMix, their Soñar, that was kind of the same thing, where the dream world is like another sort of reality, and the sort of interaction between like the two realms of existence, I guess you could say. The thing that ties it all together, of course, is like the music, right? It's and this type of concept works cool if you are creating something in artistic, or in a type of fiction, a type of narrative, right? um it goes all the way back to like the Matrix, and even earlier stuff like from the 80s, that like this is, as soon as the digital sort of presence became a thing in a lot of media, then it was, because it was expansive. I mean, the amount of memory, that things that you could do were so much more substantial. But I just note that this is like a major trend that is continuing, and really, really seems to be expansive across a lot of the K-pop industry. But this was, it was interesting, right? Because the Megaverse, obviously, there's the, as in like a universe, like a metaverse, right? But this is a Megaverse. And I thought it was very cool the way that it started off with a sequence of these rap parts, right? Because that kind of, and they're really good. I mean, like the rhythms are really awesome, and it builds up to where that last rap part has a completely different rhythm. Like, it's a very strong contrast to the type of pattern that's based on. But it's, and then such a deliberate shift, right? This is that the Stray Kids Hot Megaverse, like that part right there is a written as a transitional section, right? Like it starts to change the count and has this descending line. It's really taking you from one pattern or one progression, right, in a section to the next one. And it's like, it's very strong. It's certainly very heavy-handed, but that's okay. It works in terms of it being a boy group, and of the the sort of masculine type of energy behind it. It is very much like slamming on the brakes, though, as far as like it within the song structure. But it is fun. Like, it's actually really interesting. I was not expecting it, you know what I mean? And then I was like, oh, okay. And some very, really interesting things with this track, the sort of double time beat that comes in, towards the last like stretch of the song there, that last section. A lot of really fun changes. Some interesting things, of course, going on with production. Some of these shots in here where there's rapping, and it's like there's many iterations of them, like you see 3 or 4, right, all sort of in a circle. The rap lines actually have multiple recordings that are layered, so you can feel like some panned a little bit high left, some sort of mid right, and then some sort of like a main one sort of balance. So it's playing around with the visual and like matching it up with the mix, right? The way that these different lines have been recorded and arranged in the mix. I don't know if it's necessarily the same vocal. Like, in other words, there might be more than one member who's doing these rap lines, and they're just sort of spreading them out and, you know, panning one here and maybe sort of decreasing the dynamic because it sounds like a little bit quieter. It doesn't stand out quite as much. But it might even just be that one member recorded his part maybe like 3 or 4 times, and like with little variations here and there, slight differences here and there, and you're getting all these simultaneous expressions of the same line at once. And this, of course, reinforces the visual that shows you like 3 or 4 different iterations of that member. But it's also, in the broader context of the song and the concept, it's that, you know, he like talks about breaking the fourth wall and kind of playing all around with it. And that's what that's kind of expressing or demonstrating in terms of what they've done with the production there. And it's really interesting. Everything, of course, this is a Stray Kids track, so I mean, everything in it is very deliberate. Like it's in your face, like but it works. Like it's not an easy thing to pull off, you know. But Stray Kids doesn't really do easy things, right, to pull off. It's always pretty complex, and it requires like a complete commitment to it, right? It's like it's like trying to do skateboard tricks or something. Like, if you don't lean into it and put all your weight over it, you're gonna fall, you're gonna get hurt, right? Like it's that kind of approach. Like, you have to fully just jump behind it and completely commit so that it gets enough momentum, has enough follow through, and that's what actually like makes it work and connects everything together. But it's really interesting. And I was like, the one thing I was wondering, man, about halfway through with this poor security guard here, I was like, oh, why are they trying to get into this place? And, you know, because I was like, I mean, I can relate. That's my like day job, right? Is to be a security guard downtown, and you know, I was just like, it's just my shift, dude. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I would have let you in. You could have just asked, and I would have let you in. It's like, you know, he's getting kicked around and like crash through the floor and through the glass and all. It's like, yeah. Sometimes it's like that, man. Sometimes it's like that. You can't really do anything about it. But you know, for what it's worth, if Stray Kids had asked, like, I would have just let him in. I said, yeah, man, you come in and chill. That's fine. But I'm trying to figure out, like, what, you know, obviously, I think it's this guy's dream, kind of, like, you know, he's over here sleeping on the job, right? And he's got that newspaper in front of him that it indicates that there's this, like, the narrative suggestion, right? That the Stray Kids are these kind of, like, wanted individuals for something, right? And so he's, like, kind of at work and he's bored and he's gone into this dream or this daydream of like, what if they showed up here, or like, what if it happened here or whatever, which is also relatable too. I do, for my sake of my job, you know, because you never know if you work security downtown, you never know what's gonna happen. Like, I've seen some wild stuff, you know. So I can relate. I can relate on several levels. But it's fun still. But I was just like, dude, this dude's getting beat up. And okay. See, he's drawing over the picture, you know, and he's like really paying attention. He's kind of putting a lot of attention into it. And the drawing over it is kind of, he's adding some sort of context that is his originally to the picture that's there. So I think that's the thing that really draws him into this whole daydream sequence or whatever here. So a lot of like quarter notes at the beginning, right? Bum, 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 bum. And that rhythm was established in that build-up part, like that sort of thriller type of spy, thing that was going on in the beginning, right? This sort of these really gritty like synth bass sounds and this shuffle rhythm percussion over it too. I was like, is this in 5 or is this in 4? It's in 4, but there's a polyrhythmic structure that's going on. So you have some different groupings in there, or some like eighth note triplets and some things that are changing up the feel. It's got like a foundation of 4, but these other counts that are going on over it that you're like, it kind of gets you a little bit lost, right? But they're playing on that rhythm in these opening verses here, and it kind of starts with a straightforward 4 count, right? And then you get into some of these 16th note subdivisions. They're kind of skipping over the 8th notes from what I can tell, but so completely different. Like that last line was like just totally did away with like the established sort of rhythmic pattern. It brought back the shuffle, that this kind of, it feels like groups of 3, but it's that other contrasting rhythm that's going on over the top. It really brought that part out to the front and kind of made it front and center. But it was really, really fun, man. Like it's really interesting, right? The way and they all have like a different delivery, really. Felix and Peng Chen in the beginning like to emphasize that quarter note, right, each time as they begin, and then it kind of begins to unfold towards the end of their line. And then Changbin had a different, he more of the emphasis on those downbeats on 4 again, but it was very straightforward. And that's a setup for the next rhythm that comes in that just completely ignores the downbeats after that. It's like it's a totally contrasting rhythm, but it's actually very cool. And then into this, I guess we call this like the pre-chorus build-up, right? It's here it starts to get a lot more melodic, and we have this sort of it goes from a rhythmic emphasis to the emphasis is on the harmony. So, okay, the bass, right? There's this bass part that's again emphasizing those downbeats. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, and then you have the vocal lines that are going on that have really shifted in terms of pitch value. Like it goes up, above the previous vocal lines, and there's a very light, like almost chiptune-y melody sound that's going on. I'm hearing it like in the left for the most part, and it's kind of pretty close to the rhythm, right? That who is that? Hyunjin's part. It's kind of doing a similar pattern, but the because of that bass, what it starts to do in this section here, that's what kind of really shifts your attention over to the actual chord progression that's going on underneath it. And then this part is like, it's so abrupt. It's most replayed part, yeah, because this is so deliberate, man. This is like the most in your face part.
Welcome to the Stray Kids Hot Megaverse. Stray Kids! Welcome to the Stray Kids Hot Megaverse.
It felt like it sped up a little bit, man, and that first time.
Welcome to the Stray Kids Hot Megaverse.
he's like really leaning into the beat. It almost sounds like it starts to speed up. Welcome to the Stray Kids Hot Megaverse. But he's really leaning into the beat a little, like not coming in necessarily ahead of it, but I mean he's right at the start of it. And so a pretty fast rhythm before that, right? Like it's really sort of moving along, and then it's a deliberate like skirt, like step on the brakes, right? And then it's gonna shift into this really cool sort of like dark kind of exotic beat that's going on here.
Welcome to the Stray Kids Hot Megaverse. 잡았다 큰 거 하나 온다 떠봐 떨어라 Atlas 딱 튀는 대로 치워 삼켜 소화해 모든 서버 MEGAVERSE 결말을 뻔하게 만들어 결국 끝이 보지 메가트론 영향력은 증폭돼 속삭였다 메가폰 같이 모여 퍼뜨려 Holy Ghost.
Again, a contrast, right? Like Changbin's rap part's always pretty intense. He does a little whisper part there, right? So he's dropping the dynamic completely into a sort of like that sort of voce type of range there, and then making one pretty emphatic, like putting a stamp on it at the end. And then it's a shift to a more melodic type of vocal line, right? But it's still keeping this exotic type of beat under it. And actually the kick rhythms, right? Like there's all these super fast groups, double stops or 16th note patterns, but they're really tight and they're really fast. And it keeps a degree of intensity in the beat, even though this is much more melodic. Even the little sort of riff that's going on, like all of this it has a much more like flowy type of feel, right? But the way that the drums are used here, it really keeps tension and a lot of intensity in it, like underneath this more melodic sort of line that's going on over the top. It's really interesting. Yeah, there's like a stereo thing going on, because the real full voice sound that he's got going on is like in the left, and there's almost a falsetto doubling of it in the right. So we already have these vocal lines, being sort of stretched apart into different sort of like parallel lines that are running. Yeah, it's crazy. There's there's at least, there's one in the left, and it feels like there's two that are more like in the right. I don't know how tightly it's matched up to this shot sequence here, but there's different versions of this line that are going on, and it feels like the same voice, but recorded, like did it one way. Like there's this take that you hear in the left, and then there's another take that you hear kind of low and right, and then there's another take that you hear pretty much in the center, but still like a little bit more to the right, which does match up with the visual. I mean, there's like one on the left and there's two more so on the right. So I don't know if that was the intention behind it or not. I'll try to pay attention to see if it moves, right? If that panning moves. But it's one of the most interesting things I've ever heard as far as this type of line. So there was actually a main vocal line and then some backing vocals that are harmonizing over the chord. You can hear the progression, ooh, and then there's this pulsing sort of synth tone that's going on. It's playing eighth notes, boop, 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 boop. But it's all following like the main progression there. But again, a shift from that rhythm intense part with the rap lines that were going on there, and that crazy panning effect, it started to sort of wind down right after moving into that second phrase there of the rap section, and there was maybe two, but they start to come much closer together, and then by the time we pull into this again, this sort of pre-chorus section here, where it's much more melodic, they don't have the voices split up like that anymore. It's sort of like come back together, coalesced into one main vocal line with some vocal harmonies that are going on, but that's more like a standard type of production treatment to it. It isn't this wild arrangement of like countering parallel sort of lines or however. But that was that's a crazy part. The build up. It's a really cool drop. It's like the build up, right? Coming out of that notice it intensifies too. We get a much more melodic, emphasis on some harmony in the beginning, and then the percussion starts to ramp up, right? Going from quarters 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and it starts to build up all this intensity. And then again, that very deliberate, right? Welcome to the Stray Kids Hot Mega Boom. And then like the drop goes, and it's really satisfying. It's like super satisfying. And there's such a cool beat that comes in after it, like it's the absolute follow through on that drop that makes it just super cool. You better run. Stray Kids! So that's a synth flute, right? That's I'm not sure. It sounds like one of those wooden flutes. Man, but it's meant to have almost an organic, exotic type of quality to it. But that was really interesting because there was a build up to the drop, and it was kind of sequenced with another build up to another drop, right? And so visually, right, like Mans was up top, the security guard was up top, he got dropped through the floor, and then there was another drop that happened after this musically, right? So it's kind of like suggesting going down through the different layers or the different realities, if you will, right? Like there's a surface level, and then because there's an emphasis on the bass too. In the second build up, like there's this really, really strong buzzy synth bass that's sort of carrying the progression, but it gets like really like thicker and stronger, right, as it goes, and leading up to the second drop back into this really cool exotic type of groove. So it's as if they're suggesting, boom, 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 like dropping down through the different levels of their reality, these different worlds, right, to get to the one that's holding all of them up. This a megaverse big bang. The party break. 'Cause we make it rain. Yeah, yeah. This a megaverse big bang. Everything yeah. Welcome to the Stray Kids Hot Megaverse. See that? It was another drop. Once we get into this sort of double time, right? This feel where the percussion really ramps up and the beat, all of a sudden we're like, whoa, we're moving. See what I mean? Like it's dropping down into these different layers or these different levels, and like at the bottom, the sort of the thing that was underpinning everything had the most momentum, the most like drive on it, and so that beat was really intense. And then of course, basically it breaks, right? Because you welcome to the Stray Kids Hot Megaverse, and then you hear the tape rewind sound. So it's like we broke it. We broke the reality now, because we've gone all the way through to the bottom level, and then like broke that one too. So it's actually really cool, man. He's like, bro, you were sleeping. Wait, Next X, right? It said Next X Stray Kids. Next X. Wait a minute. Tableau, right? TAB. That's L, right? And O, tableau. I mean, a tableau is a thing. Isn't it one of those composite illustrations, kind of, that, like, it's supposed to be similar to like a comic or something, but it's like a single scene that's supposed to have some maybe satirical context to it, but that it's not spelled that way though. This is, I wonder what the heck that means. Tableau. Interesting. Obviously they're hinting at something here, but I don't follow. I don't understand what it is that they're getting at here. I wonder. Call back to the initial beat. Wait a minute. Stray kids everywhere, all around the world. You make stray kids stay. Yeah. Okay. Super interesting, man. Super interesting. Really fun. And it's a really fun, Stray Kids track. It's man, I feel like since maybe S-Class, right? I mean, a lot of their tracks lately have had these really strong, very intentional contrasts, right? These wild shifts between sections, a lot of these rhythmic devices that, the whole build up and the whole purpose is to like get you sort of in one groove and then stop it and then do like something else. It seems to be like a prominent thing that they've been incorporating into a lot of the songs. I mean, not all of them, but several of them that have come out, but it's really fun. It's got some excellent rhythmic work that's going on. The contrast between the sections is great. When harmony is emphasized in melody, they create so much room for those parts to do their thing, and then start to build up again by intensifying the rhythms and giving you these different beat patterns that are going on, and some really fun drops. And I from watching it and listening to it, I think that the song structure is trying to express something like this, going through these different sort of levels or layers of reality, right? Like the intro, right, just pretty straightforward, right? They sort of bring in this beat and have this polyrhythmic thing that's going on that kind of like gets you really don't know what to count. You're kind of like, okay, and then it's da-da-da-da-da-da, and it's like, okay, and then the rap verses come in, and it's very straightforward, right? And then all of a sudden the pre-chorus change up to where we get more melodic lines and a much better sense of like harmony. So then it's like, oh, okay. I mean, we kind of maybe hit the bottom, we hit the foundation of that first layer by approaching it in a pretty straightforward manner. And then there's the intentional stop, right? The Stray Kids hot mega verse, and then the drop, right? Boom. And then we get into this other groove that starts to feel like maybe the space in between, if you want to say like, okay, we're in one reality and then we're gonna push through the next one, and that really exotic sounding groove, right, is like the space in between, and then they arrive in the next one, second verse, the second rap parts where all of that interesting panning was going on, the sort of multiple lines, and some are left and some are right, but there's like multiple of them, right? And then pre-chorus again, right? Some of that, the calm at first, right? The emphasis on harmony, on things lining up just right, intensifying, build up rhythmically, and then boom, another drop right into that space again, that really cool exotic sounding space. That's like the space in between one sort of reality and the next, if you will. And it's a intentional push all the way through. The last one being the most intense one, right? Has this most driving rhythm, this very upbeat tempo to it. It's like, oh man, we're really moving. And then if you try to break through that one, the whole thing stops. Like it all the levels above it stop, and we see that security guard. You get the rewind sound, and then all of a sudden he's like, oh, waking up, like everything reset at that point. You know what I mean? So that's kind of like what I'm interpreting from the song structure itself, and then what we're being shown in the video. But it's very cool. It's really fun. This is like a fun Stray Kids, type of energy and vibe, and it's very cool, man. I said, that I guess it's good. It was just that security guard just sort of dreaming, right? Because he had a pretty rough time, he was just sitting there scribbling on the newspaper, and then all of a sudden it was like he was taken on this ride, being sort of crashed through all these different layers, you know what I mean? And so it was kind of a rough shift, man, but then it was okay because it all turned out to just be a dream. It was interesting, man. That was fun. Stray Kids, Megaverse, it's very cool. Man, I'm looking forward to the finale of the Nizzy project. It's gonna be fun to see the Stray Kids there with the boys who are performing in the show. I think it's gonna be a really good conclusion to what's been a really good series so far. So that'll be the next time I see them. But this was a very fun track right here, man. This is Stray Kids production and their composition as well. They leaned into it, and it was the right choice. It was the right thing to do.